Jessica Monroe was never supposed to be famous. Not in this way. She wasn't a YouTube star. She didn't curate an Instagram aesthetic or lip sync on TikTok. Her phone still had a cracked screen protector she kept meaning to replace. Her most recent Facebook profile picture was 3 years old, taken at her younger sister's high school graduation. She had exactly 317 followers, most of them friends from the animal shelter where she worked, and a handful of classmates from Billings West High. Jessica was, by all accounts, gentle, unassuming, quiet. She had the kind of smile that felt like an apology for taking up space. She liked crossword puzzles and fresh-baked muffins. Her nights were spent curled on the couch with her cat, Wendell, watching reruns of Frasier and crocheting plant potholders she rarely finished. No enemies, no scandals, no secrets, until the video surfaced. Until the world saw her final gasping moments, not in a courtroom or on the evening news, but across millions of glowing phone screens, in bedrooms and dorm rooms and bathrooms, shared like any other piece of viral content. It began at 3:06 a.m. on a cold, wet Wednesday morning. An anonymous post appeared on a darknet forum known as The Pit, an encrypted corner of the internet, infamous for its reputation. The file, simply labeled playtime.mov, was uploaded under a blank username with zero post history. The caption read only, "She didn't listen." The video was 2 minutes and 39 seconds long. The first 30 seconds were silent. A static shot, unmoving, of a young woman tied to a wooden chair in what appeared to be a basement. The light above her buzzed faintly, casting a sterile, almost clinical glow. The camera angle was deliberate, perfectly centered, eye level, steady. Jessica's face was pale, bruised. Blood was crusted along the edge of her mouth. She was shaking. A masked figure stood behind her, tall, draped in black. The mask was porcelain white with no features except 2 slits for eyes and a faint red smear where the mouth should be. At the 0:47 mark, she whispered, "Please." Her voice cracked. She repeated it, over and over. It was the only word she could manage. "Please, please, please." The figure didn't move, didn't speak. At 1:28, he stepped forward, bent down beside her, and said, in a digitally distorted voice, "This is what happens when they don't listen." Then he pulled the trigger. A muffled shot. A sharp jerk. Her head slumped sideways. The screen went black. The file ended. In the age of fleeting content and internet hoaxes, many initially thought the clip was fake. An art project, a twisted short film, a disturbing attempt at shock value performance. But the realism was undeniable. And by the time Reddit threads lit up, it had already been screen captured, downloaded, and dissected. On Twitter, the phrase "real murder on livestream" began trending by dawn. Telegram groups debated its authenticity. Some thought it was connected to past darknet snuff film rumors. Others dismissed it as creepypasta nonsense. But when someone reverse image searched the girl's face and matched it to a missing persons poster from Montana, everything changed. The girl wasn't just a random actor. She was real. Her name was Jessica Monroe, and she had been missing for 48 hours. Who was Jessica? To the people who knew her, Jessica's disappearance had been painfully out of character. She'd left work Monday afternoon around 4 p.m., telling her coworker she'd be back the next morning to help with a new litter of rescue puppies. But she never showed. Lena, her younger sister, had called and texted repeatedly until finally driving to Jessica's apartment herself. Inside, nothing was broken. The door was locked. Her phone and laptop were gone. Wendell, her cat, hadn't been fed. Her favorite blanket was folded neatly at the foot of her bed, untouched. By Tuesday night, a missing persons report had been filed. But it wasn't until the video leaked that the public truly noticed her. Suddenly, Jessica Monroe wasn't just another name on a poster. She was America's victim. The aftermath of a viral death. The clip was pulled from most major platforms by 9:13 a.m., but by then it had spread across every digital crevice imaginable. On TikTok, users stitched it with reaction videos, horrified or speculative. YouTube creators dissected every frame, pointing out camera shadows, audio patterns, or supposed Morse code taps in the background. Twitter threads compared the masked man's voice to other known criminals. Could this be the basement killer from 2013? One post asked. No. Different MO, another replied. He's playing with the camera. This is performance. Within hours, Jessica's full name, address, school history, and even family photos were circulating. The internet had turned her life, and her death, into an open-source crime scene. What began as a murder investigation became something else entirely. A public spectacle. The basement becomes a shrine. Later that afternoon, the police confirmed the worst. Jessica's body was found in a foreclosed farmhouse just outside of Billings. Same setting, same chair, same light fixture, even the same crack in the wall seen in the video. But the camera was gone. The weapon, gone. No fingerprints, no footprints, no tire tracks outside, despite the mud. It was as if someone had set the stage, executed her, and vanished into smoke. The farmhouse itself had been unoccupied for years. The previous owner had died in 2007. Locals said it had always given off a bad vibe, used occasionally by teenagers for parties but otherwise abandoned. After the news broke, internet sleuths flocked to the location, some trespassing just to leave candles, teddy bears, or TikTok videos for clout. They called it the execution room. In the days that followed, questions piled up. Who was the masked killer? How did he know Jessica? Why was it filmed? And why was it uploaded? Was she chosen at random? Or had someone, or something, orchestrated this? Law enforcement remained tight-lipped. But among those who watched the clip, something strange began to happen. A few users began reporting recurring dreams of masked figure whispering numbers. Others said their phone cameras turned on at night without explanation. One Reddit user, who claimed to have watched the video more than 20 times, posted, "I feel like I invited something into my house." His account was deleted 2 days later. And then it got worse. At exactly 3:06 a.m., 7 days after the video first leaked, a new post appeared on the same forum. It showed a different girl. Same chair, same basement, same mask. The file name? Playtime_2.mov. But this time, the girl in the video was still alive and begging for help. Bottom of form. The internet never forgets, and this time, it might have remembered a killer. It had been exactly 7 days since the world first saw Jessica Monroe die on screen. 7 days for 2 minutes and 39 seconds of footage shattered her quiet life and turned it into a digital crime scene. Her funeral hadn't even taken place yet. Her sister Lena was still trying to identify Jessica's remains, having to rely on a birthmark behind her left ear because the exit wound had taken most of her skull. The Monroe family hadn't spoken publicly. Not yet. The FBI had issued a press release requesting people stop sharing the video and to report any uploads they came across. Platforms like Twitter and Reddit rushed to update their moderation filters to block keywords associated with it. But even then, it wasn't enough. Because at 3:06 a.m., the exact time Jessica's video had gone live the week before, another video dropped. It was titled Playtime_2.mov. It followed the same pattern. Same lighting, same masked figure, same wooden chair, same length, 2 minutes, 39 seconds. Except this time, the girl was still alive. The second girl. She looked younger than Jessica. Possibly 22, maybe younger. Blonde, thin, shivering in a tank top, bruises blooming up her arms like vines. Her voice was hoarse, but she screamed in a way Jessica never had. Loud, raw. "Help me," she cried at one point. "Please, somebody help me." The masked figure said nothing. He simply circled her, like a director checking the angles on a set. The camera panned slightly this time. A handheld motion, as though the killer had changed his aesthetic. At 1:57, the girl began convulsing violently in the chair, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. The shot zoomed slowly in on her face. Then came the whisper. This is what happens when they don't listen. Just as the screen cut to black, she screamed a name. Casey, I'm sorry. And then it ended. If the first video had exploded, the second ignited a firestorm. Only this time, the internet knew what it was looking at. No more denial. No claims of special effects. Everyone, from journalists to Reddit sleuths to suburban moms, knew they were watching something real. A murder in progress. But this time, the stakes were higher. Because now, the girl was alive. She could still be saved. The race was on. Thousands of internet users poured over the clip, examining every second, freezing frames, enhancing audio, mapping shadows and echo patterns, even analyzing the ceiling mold to determine geographic humidity. TikTok was flooded with theories. One video, with over 12 million views in 8 hours, suggested the girl had a scar on her cheek matching a missing persons report from Ohio. Another claimed to match the fluorescent bulb flicker rate to a known brand of lighting used in military surplus bunkers. Reddit threads argued about whether she said Casey or KC. One audio expert posted a slowed-down version revealing a distant train whistle, suggesting she might be near a rail yard. Every second mattered. Too late. But it didn't matter. At 8:56 a.m., just under 6 hours after the video went live, the body of Amber LeClaire, a 21-year-old student from a small town in northern Idaho, was found in an abandoned canning factory. Same chair, same light, same shot to the back of the head. Her driver's license was placed at her feet, propped up by a bullet casing. Taped to her hand was a printed screenshot, a still frame from a popular reaction video to the first murder. It was labeled, "Thanks for watching. 6 hours of hell." That's what the media began calling it. Those 360 minutes between upload and discovery. It became a cultural reference point. Podcasts dissected the timeline. Experts criticized law enforcement for not mobilizing sooner. Twitter descended into finger-pointing chaos, everyone blaming someone else for failing to stop what they all knew was happening. And all the while, the comments on Playtime_2.mov multiplied. Some begged the killer to stop. Others encouraged him. A few even asked for custom requests. Do one in a school uniform. Let them try to escape this time. What happens if they listen? These weren't just trolls. These were people feeding off of something dark. Something insatiable. It was then the FBI announced a new theory to the press. This wasn't just a killer. It wasn't even a serial killer in the traditional sense. It was something they hadn't seen before. At least, not at this level of sophistication. A producer. Someone who wasn't just killing. He was curating. There were signs, they said, that the videos weren't just meant for mass chaos. There were private buyers. Whispers of cryptocurrency transactions traced back to accounts on the dark web linked to an auction site known as The Nest, a rumored hub for high-value custom murder content. This wasn't just being filmed for horror. It was being sold. Back in Billings, Lena Monroe was still reeling. Jessica's funeral had been delayed due to evidence custody complications, and her sister's name was now permanently attached to one of the most infamous internet crimes in history. Lena deleted all her social media accounts after receiving dozens of messages, some from supporters, others from ghoulish fans asking what Jessica was like off camera. But the worst message came at 3:06 a.m., the day after Amber LeClaire was found. It was a single email. No subject line. No text. Just an attachment. A photo. It was a screenshot from Jessica's execution, seconds before the shot. Except in this image, someone had crudely photoshopped Lena's face over Jessica's. The file was titled Playtime_3.jpg. A killer who was watching us. That's when the world realized something even more disturbing. This wasn't just a person targeting victims at random. He was watching everyone watching him, reading the theories, mocking the timelines, interacting, maybe even posting under burner accounts. And worst of all, he was getting better at it. Every upload was cleaner, slicker, less traceable. The second video had been bounced between 47 proxy servers across 13 countries, encrypted through quantum-resistant pathways that even the NSA had trouble penetrating. He wasn't just ahead of law enforcement. He was playing with them, At the end of playtime_OV, just before the fade to black, there was one frame. Blink and you'd miss it. It lasted less than 0.2 seconds. Hidden inside the video's metadata. A QR code. When digitally enhanced and scanned, it redirected to a live countdown. The timer? 7 days. And the label? Playtime_3. Premieres soon. Murder as content. Pain as currency. And the audience? All of us. It was 6:03 p.m. on a Friday when the Department of Homeland Security briefed a closed-door Senate committee on what it now referred to as a new category of domestic threat: performative terrorism. The killer had released 2 high-production execution videos, each exactly 2 minutes and 39 seconds long. 2 girls, both previously unknown, both now unforgettable. The horror wasn't just in what he did, but how he framed it, cut it, branded it. These weren't snuff films from a dirty backroom camera. These were calculated works of psychological warfare, designed to incite obsession. And he had succeeded. The countdown on the dark website known only as The Nest ticked down with an audience in the millions. Encrypted chat rooms buzzed with anticipation. Some wanted to solve it. Others simply wanted to see what happened next. But one thing was becoming painfully clear. This wasn't random. FBI analysts finally had time to dig into the metadata from Playtime_1MOV and Playtime_2MOV. They discovered something curious. Each file was laced with invisible watermarks, embedded deep within the audio tracks. Not just for tracking, but as some form of signature. More chillingly, both videos contained short bursts of subsonic frequencies. Sounds that couldn't be heard by the human ear but could trigger feelings of dread, anxiety, or nausea. It wasn't just a video. It was a weaponized experience. This led investigators to a disturbing conclusion. Whoever was behind this had professional knowledge. Not just of video editing, but of neuromarketing, sound engineering, and psychological operations. Someone had turned death into a formula, one that tapped directly into the human fear response. On the dark web, The Nest was part myth, part marketplace. Rumors about it had been floating around for years. A private invitation-only hub where niche content was auctioned to elite bidders. Everything from stolen biometric data to deep-fake pornography. And now, it seemed, real executions. But The Nest didn't operate like a website. It was more like a living organism. Shifting servers, reformatting URLs, requiring user-specific encryption keys just to enter. And its auction system wasn't public. You had to earn your way in. That's when cybersecurity agents working with Europol intercepted a private message posted by a seller on a darknet forum. It read, "Third one's almost ready. Backers loved the Casey scream. This one gets biblical." A profile name was attached. Just one word, Vulture. While the agencies scrambled to find Vulture, Jessica Monroe's sister, Lena, wasn't sleeping. Not anymore. The moment she received the image of her face photoshopped onto Jessica's dying frame, something in her snapped. She couldn't mourn. She had to fight. She started her own research, combing forums, tracking usernames, diving headfirst into the same pit that had swallowed her sister. She didn't tell the police. She didn't trust them anymore. Not after the second girl died in spite of the entire internet watching it happen. One night, at 2:44 a.m., Lena clicked on a thread titled, "Behind the Frame, the Director Theory." It was filled with speculation that the person filming the murders wasn't alone, that someone else was holding the camera. One user pointed out subtle shadows that didn't match the killer's body. Another found a split-second reflection in Playtime_2, possibly a second figure standing just outside frame. Then she saw a comment that chilled her. Not just a camera crew, a cast and crew. "You're watching a production." Lena stared at the post. She didn't sleep for 36 hours after that. Back in DC, an independent OSINT, open-source intelligence, group called Glasswing managed to geolocate a critical clue. They'd cross-referenced building codes, industrial lighting patterns, and mold texture from the 2 videos to pinpoint a potential match. A condemned bottling plant in Kansas that had been bought 2 years prior by an LLC based in the British Virgin Islands. When agents arrived, the building was empty. But behind a locked room in the basement, They found it, the same wooden chair from the videos, broken into pieces and splattered with old blood. On the wall, someone had scrawled the words, "This is the part where you fail." With forensic help, they traced the paper screenshot found on victim number 2, Amber LeClaire, back to a commercial printer in Topeka. Surveillance footage confirmed a man in a gray hoodie with latex gloves had made the print 12 days prior. The timestamp was exactly 3:06 a.m. Whoever was doing this had planned the second video before the first ever aired. It wasn't a series of reactions. It was a pre-written sequence, a script. And worst of all, there was still one more act to go. The third victim. With less than 48 hours left on the Playtime_3 countdown, panic set in. Discord servers popped up with names like #SaveHerNow and #NotAgain. TikTok creators posted maps, fan theories, and emotional breakdowns. People who'd watched the video now claimed to have nightmares, hallucinations, nosebleeds, symptoms that mirrored PTSD. One teenager in Florida reportedly went blind in one eye after binge-watching slowed-down versions of the execution footage. A doctor later blamed it on stress-induced retinal damage. The FBI issued a public warning. Do not attempt to investigate this case as a civilian. The perpetrator is not merely dangerous, he is strategically sadistic. And then, without warning, the third victim appeared, not in a video, but in real life. Her name was Brianna Tells, a 19-year-old college sophomore from Sacramento. Her parents reported her missing just 2 days before the Playtime_3 countdown ended. She was last seen leaving her dorm room, wearing a hoodie, phone in hand. At 3:06 a.m., a new video began streaming on an obscure server linked through the Nest. It wasn't uploaded. It was live. And Brianna was sitting in the chair. The camera didn't blink. Neither did the world. It started with a glitch. At exactly 3:06 a.m., the video began to buffer on the Nest's hidden livestream node. Those who had set up alerts got pinged, and within moments, hundreds of anonymous users flooded into the stream's encrypted relay. The screen flickered. Then it appeared, Brianna Tells, 19, shaking, bound to the familiar wooden chair, its chipped paint stained with the ghosts of the past 2 victims. The basement setting was eerily familiar. Same exposed pipework, same flickering utility light. But this time, the stream wasn't pre-recorded. There were no jump cuts, no sound edits, no cinematic flourishes. This was live, and people watched. Thousands of them. The countdown clock hits 0. When the Playtime_3 countdown expired, law enforcement was still scrambling to locate Brianna. The FBI had narrowed the IP to somewhere in the Midwest, but the Nest's routing software rerouted the feed through 17 different proxy servers spread across 3 continents. Each server had a single-use encryption key that self-deleted within minutes. Even the NSA couldn't get ahead of it. The killer had done the unthinkable. He wasn't just uploading murder anymore. He was broadcasting it. And in doing so, he made his audience complicit. Brianna's last words. As the stream stabilized, Brianna Tells looked directly into the camera. Unlike the victims before her, she spoke first, hoarsely, but deliberately. "My name is Brianna Tells. I don't know where I am. If anyone sees this, please." Her voice cracked. "Tell my mom I love her. Tell her I didn't run away." Behind her, the masked figure emerged from the shadows. The same hooded silhouette from the Jessica Monroe video. Same voice filter. But this time, there was a new sound. Soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails against wood. And then he spoke. "This is the last lesson. Watch closely. The ethical collapse." Within 18 minutes of the stream's start, nearly 72,000 people had accessed it through mirrors on Telegram, Reddit, and private Discord servers. Some just wanted to help identify the basement. Others, sickly curious, couldn't look away. Multiple live reaction channels popped up on YouTube and Twitch, some unaware the footage was real. One streamer, later banned, cracked jokes while watching. Another sobbed, begged her viewers to call 911, and then vomited on camera. By the time YouTube pulled the mirrors, the video had already been downloaded, clipped, and shared millions of times. A 13-year-old in Ontario went into cardiac arrest after watching the stream on a school-issued laptop. Across the world, people witnessed the moment Brianna Tells died. A real-time execution. No warning. No filter. A message written in blood. The killer didn't shoot Brianna. This time, he used a long, thin blade. Exacting, quiet, surgical. The camera never moved. It was mounted. Intentional. Framed. And as Brianna's life ebbed from her eyes, the masked figure dipped a gloved finger into her blood and wrote a single word on the wall behind her. Obey. The stream ended. But that word would ripple through the media for weeks to come. Mass panic and digital aftershocks. The psychological aftereffects of Playtime_3 were unlike anything experts had seen in the digital age. In the following 72 hours, over 11,000 posts using the #obey flooded TikTok and Twitter. Several copycat threats emerged on 4chan and Discord, prompting lockdowns in schools from California to New Jersey. A movement calling itself Digital Witnesses formed on Reddit. Self-proclaimed archivists who insisted the videos must remain online for public record. Meanwhile, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter were subpoenaed for logs and data. Many had allowed brief re-uploads before moderators could react. The killer hadn't just filmed a death. He had engineered a cultural contagion. A memory that couldn't be deleted. Who was Vulture? All eyes turned to the darknet identity behind the videos. Vulture had become more than a username. He was a ghost in the code, a dark brand with its own economy. There were even reports of NFTs being minted from still frames of the Jessica Monroe execution, traded in secret marketplaces for crypto worth 6 figures. Interpol identified at least 3 known traffickers who used the Vulture name in unrelated crimes, suggesting it wasn't just a person. It was a network. But the original account, the one that first posted Playtime_1, was still active, still taunting, still uploading cryptic text posts like, "Suffering is universal. So is attention. Let's monetize both." Then one message appeared, just 2 days after Brianna's murder. Final episode. One you'll all be in. The account went dark after that. Lena's revelation. Back in Montana, Jessica Monroe's sister Lena was barely recognizable. Hollow-eyed, exhausted, but determined. She had spent weeks digging through the Nest's user patterns, guided by breadcrumbs no one else seemed to follow. And finally, she found something. Each video had the same frame rate, same compression, and each had a single pixel, in the top right corner, flicker in exactly the same sequence. Morse code. She translated it. It read, Billings. Start where it ended. Jessica's hometown. Her sister's murder wasn't random. It was ground zero. Top of form. Bottom of form. Sometimes evil doesn't come from the shadows. It grows quietly in the light, where no one looks. The road back to Billings, Montana, was lined with forgotten wheat fields, rusting tractors, and long stretches of silence. It was the kind of place where everybody knew everybody, and where nothing bad was supposed to happen. But Lena Monroe now knew better. She had buried her sister here. Now she had returned, not to mourn, but to hunt. Unanswered questions and cold eyes. After the third murder, national media had flooded the streets of Billings, shoving cameras into every corner of Jessica Monroe's quiet past. They filmed her elementary school, her part-time job at Green Valley Veterinary, even her favorite coffee shop where she always ordered cinnamon lattes with oat milk. But they missed something only Lena knew. Jessica had been scared months before she died. It started subtly. She'd stopped volunteering at the library. She had changed the locks on her apartment 3 times. Lena remembered her sister whispering something during a Christmas phone call. "There's someone watching me. I think they're testing me." She thought it was paranoia. Now she wondered if it was a warning. The boy behind the mask. Billings High School had long since forgotten Dominic Graves. He'd graduated with no fanfare, just a scrawny, quiet kid with oil-stained jeans and an expressionless face. The kind of kid teachers said would figure things out eventually. He didn't. Lena found his name deep in Jessica's old texts. One of her last unread messages had said, Dom messaged me again. Something about retribution. I think he's serious this time. Jessica never replied. Lena remembered him vaguely. Jessica had tutored him once in algebra. He had been shy, polite, not dangerous. But then Lena discovered something else. Dominic Graves had disappeared 3 months before Jessica's death. No forwarding address. No police report. His parents never filed one. The town didn't miss him. No one ever really noticed when he stopped existing. The hidden room. Jessica's apartment had already been scoured by investigators, her belongings boxed up, her bed made like she might come back one day. But Lena stayed behind after everyone left, driven by instinct, not evidence. That's when she noticed it. The faint sound of hollow-wood behind the bookcase. The back panel slid open with a nudge. Inside was a hidden crawlspace, about 4 feet deep. And inside that, taped to the walls, were printouts of forum posts from the pit, screenshots of private DMs, and a flash drive labeled, "My story isn't over." Back in her car, Lena plugged it into her laptop. A folder popped open. Inside, dozens of video clips. Jessica had been conducting her own investigation. Secretly. Paranoid, yet methodical. She had screen-recorded hours of conversations with a user named Spectre1, someone who claimed to be part of the circle. In one recording, the voice, male, deep, distorted, said something that made Lena's stomach churn. "There's no one person behind the mask. It's a philosophy. We film pain to teach obedience." Jessica understood. Until she broke the rules. What rules? Jessica asked. Silence. Then, never try to leave the frame. That's when Lena realized Jessica hadn't just been a victim. She had once been inside the circle. A cult of the camera. The files also contained a list, a manifesto of sorts, titled, "Tenets of the Frame." The frame sees all. Those in the frame must obey. The frame is truth. Disobedience demands consequence. Pain educates faster than words. The world deserves to watch. No victim is random. The frame chooses. The frame judges. The frame lives on. Underneath the document was a file titled operator.mp4. Lena clicked. It was security footage, grainy, time-stamped, showing Jessica standing outside a warehouse just outside Billings. The date, 3 weeks before her murder. She was meeting with someone. A tall figure in a black hoodie. She handed him a manila folder, then hugged him, then walked away. The warehouse of frames. The warehouse still stood, abandoned, no signage, just dust-covered windows and the smell of stale rust. Inside, Lena found what appeared to be an editing room. Dozens of old monitors, tripods, blood-stained chairs, walls covered in photographs, not just of Jessica, but of others. Some were circled in red. Some had excess over their eyes. And in the center of the room, a mannequin sat bound in the same way the victims had been, posed beneath the words. Next episode, The Witness. On the floor beneath it, Lena found a slip of paper, folded carefully. It read, "You're part of the show now, Lena." And beneath that, a date, August 14th, 3:06 a.m. What happens at 3:06? She didn't know what the time meant. Not yet. But it was always the same, the exact moment each victim's stream had begun. Whoever Vulture was, they weren't done. They had been waiting. And now, they had cast their next role. The sister. The witness. The final girl. Not every horror story ends in blood. Some end with a screen going black. The night of August 14th, Lena Monroe sat alone in the motel room off Highway 212. She hadn't slept in 2 days. The old desk lamp flickered overhead, her laptop open, cursor blinking over a login screen she wasn't supposed to have. She had found it buried deep in the cache of the abandoned warehouse, a single-use code that gave access to a live stream console. The destination? The pit. A countdown hovered in the top corner. 3 minutes and 49 seconds. The show was about to start. The game had changed. By now, Lena knew what they wanted. Not just blood, not just fear, but participation. The videos weren't random executions. They were events, performances. She wasn't supposed to uncover the truth. She was supposed to become part of it. She realized it when she traced one final IP address from a backup camera in the warehouse. It didn't lead to a foreign proxy or some underground cyber lair. It led to a local studio in Billings Public Access Television. The camera used to film Jessica Monroe's death had been municipally owned, and someone in this town had helped orchestrate it. The live stream begins. At 3:06 a.m., the screen blinked. No warning, no title card, no music, just a dark room, one light bulb swaying, dust particles dancing in the air, and a woman tied to a chair. It wasn't Lena. It was Detective Raymond Keene, the lead federal agent on the case, missing for 6 days. His face was bruised, his mouth duct-taped, his eyes wide with terror. Then, the masked figure stepped forward. Same black hoodie, same voice modulator. But now, a new addition, a pin on his chest. A white circle with a red line through it. Do not exit the frame. Breaking the fourth wall. The killer didn't speak to the victim. He spoke to the audience. You've watched. You've commented. You've shared. Now tell me, did you ever try to stop it? He walked in slow circles around Keene. They think I'm one person. A hacker. A freak. But I'm the result of you. You gave me likes. You gave me reach. The camera slowly zoomed in. There is no vulture. There is only the frame. And the frame is fed by attention. By views. By people who pretend to be horrified, but don't look away. He placed a pistol against Keene's temple. This is on you. The feed cut to black. But no gunshot was heard. As the world exploded again, news outlets speculating about the identity of the figure, online sleuths dissecting every pixel of the stream. Lena received a file in her inbox. No sender. Just a file titled frame_protocol.zip. Inside, one video, one document, and one location. GPS coordinates deep in the wilderness outside of town. The video was short. It showed Jessica Monroe, alive. If you're watching this, then I faked it right. And I'm sorry, Lena. I didn't want to drag you into this. But I had no choice. He wasn't acting alone. There's more. A lot more. This thing, it's bigger than murder. It's a machine. A machine that makes people famous through fear. But it has a weakness. She leaned closer. The frame only works if people keep watching. Then the clip ended. The woods and the whistleblower. Lena followed the GPS coordinates, hiking 3 miles into the thick Montana backwoods until she found an old bunker, camouflaged by fallen pine and moss. Inside, she discovered surveillance monitors, hard drives, and a woman with sunken eyes and matted hair. Jessica Monroe. Alive. But broken. She had staged her own death under pressure, lured in by a twisted offer. Helped them orchestrate the first frame murder, or watch her mother die. I thought I could manipulate them from the inside. But it became real. They kept going. They started killing for real. And then, they turned on me. Jessica had escaped during a change in handlers. Faked injuries. Stashed a recording. Sent it through a backdoor in the network. But she'd stayed hidden ever since, knowing the frame was still watching. Now, with Lena's help, she wanted to end it. A week later, a live stream appeared on the pit, this time initiated by Lena and Jessica using the same console. It showed Jessica, alive, holding a hard drive. Behind her, documents, footage, and faces, local officials, corporate tech partners, private network moderators. They were all in on it. The frame wasn't a person. It was a content farm for the dark web. It monetized torture, marketed suffering, turned murder into streaming revenue. And behind it were real companies, exploiting the illusion of anonymity to profit from the depravity. Jessica stared into the lens and said, "You wanted the truth. Here it is. We were all part of it. Even you." She plugged in the hard drive. The screen cut to static. and the pit vanished. Gone. Wiped from existence. In the weeks that followed, several high-ranking media execs were indicted. Multiple users of the nest were arrested in international raids. Jessica Monroe entered protective custody and later testified before a closed Senate panel. Lena Monroe released a book titled Inside the Frame. A new federal agency, the Digital Trauma Response Task Force, was formed to handle viral violence. But most importantly, no more videos came. The streams stopped. 3:06 a.m. became just a time again. Some say the frame is gone. Others whisper that it just changed its face. But in a quiet room in Montana, Lena Monroe sits by her laptop, staring at the black screen. And sometimes, just sometimes, she swears she hears a faint click, like a camera lens, trying to focus again. What did you think of the case? Please share your thoughts in the comment below. If you want more video like this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more true crime videos. See you in the next one.